Before sunrise, thousands of workers are already awake. Deep inside vast palm oil plantations, long before the first truck arrives and long before the world starts its day, men and women are walking through rows of towering oil palm trees. Their work helps produce one of the world's most widely used ingredients, the palm oil. Palm oil is found in foods, cosmetics, cleaning products, and even fuel. Yet most people have never heard their stories. Some crossed international borders to get here. Some left their families behind. Many arrived without official documents. And almost all of them are chasing the same thing: a chance at a better life. But what if the job that promises opportunity also creates a system where workers carry nearly all the risks? What if the people doing the hardest work have the least control over their income? And what if the rules of the system are designed in ways that workers can barely see? Today, we're telling about the life story of Filipino migrant workers in Malaysia's palm oil industry. We'll explore why they leave home, how they are recruited, how they are paid, why they stay despite the hardships, and what this reveals about the political economy of food and agriculture. This is a story about work, power, migration, and survival. Palm oil is everywhere. It is one of the most widely traded agricultural products on Earth. From instant noodles to chocolate bars, from shampoo to soap, palm oil has become a key ingredient in modern life. The demand for palm oil has transformed huge areas of Southeast Asia. Malaysia and Indonesia became global giants in production. As plantations expanded, they needed workers. Lots of workers, but there was a problem. Many plantations were located in remote regions and local labor was limited. The work was physically demanding. So plantation companies turned to migrant workers. For decades, migrant labor became the engine that kept the industry running. Without migrant workers, the palm oil sector would struggle to function. But where do these workers come from, and why are they willing to take these jobs? That's where our story really begins. Across the sea from Malaysia lies the Philippine island province of Palawan. It is known for beautiful coastlines, rich natural resources, and breathtaking landscapes. But beauty does not always guarantee opportunity. For many rural families, stable employment is difficult to find. Agricultural work may not provide enough money, but since young people have limited choices, migration has become a strategy for survival. People hear stories from relatives and friends who found work abroad. Some return home with savings. Others send money back to support their families. Many Filipino workers therefore decide to travel to Sabah, a Malaysian state famous for its large oil palm plantations. They hope for higher earnings, stability, and a future. But once they arrive, they encounter a reality far more complicated than they expected. In the next session, we'll see how workers become part of a labor system that reaches across borders. When people think about migration, they often imagine freedom, the freedom to move, to work, and improve one's life. But migration can also create dependence. Many Filipino workers arrive without formal documentation. That immediately changes their position. Without legal protection, workers often have fewer choices. Changing jobs becomes difficult. Moving around becomes risky. Speaking up becomes dangerous. This creates a situation where workers depend heavily on plantation employment. The plantation becomes more than a workplace. It becomes a place to live, to buy food, borrow money, and it shapes almost every part of daily life. For companies, this arrangement provides a stable workforce. For workers, It creates a relationship that is difficult to escape. And this dependence becomes one of the foundations of the labor system. But dependence alone does not explain everything. The way work is organized also matters. A typical day begins early. Workers walk through dense rows of oil palm trees. The heat can be intense. Rain can arrive suddenly. The terrain is often uneven. The work is physically exhausting. Harvesters cut large fruit bunches from tall trees. These bunches can be heavy. As trees grow older, harvesting becomes even more difficult. Workers must balance long poles and cutting tools while handling increasing weight. The risks are everywhere. Sharp tools, heavy fruit, wildlife, insects, chemical exposure, repeated physical strain. And yet the work continues day after day, season after season. Because for many workers, the alternative is unemployment. The plantation may be difficult, but going home without income can be even harder. Still, the challenges extend beyond the physical work itself. One of the most important parts of this story lies in how workers are paid. And that payment system changes everything. While most people are familiar with hourly wages, the plantation system operates differently. Workers are often paid based on output. The more they harvest, the more they earn. At first glance, that sounds fair. Work harder and earn more. But reality is far more complicated. Harvesting conditions change constantly. Some trees are easier to harvest and some are harder. Weather, tree age, fruit size, and the seasons matters. A worker may put in the same effort on 2 different days and produce very different results. This means income becomes unpredictable. When harvests are strong, earnings increase. When harvests are weak, earnings fall. The company's labor costs become more flexible and the worker absorbs the uncertainty. In other words, many of the risks are shifted from the company to the worker. And there is another layer. Workers often cannot independently verify every calculation used to determine their final pay. This creates confusion and uncertainty. Many workers simply trust the numbers they receive. Others suspect mistakes. But proving those mistakes can be difficult. The result is a system where workers carry heavy responsibilities but have limited control over the process. And that's only part of the story. One of the most surprising findings is how the system encourages workers to monitor each other. Think about that for a moment. Instead of relying entirely on supervisors, the system often pushes workers to watch fellow workers. Why? Because everyone's earnings can be affected by what others report. If one worker exaggerates output, other workers may be affected. If harvested fruit disappears, suspicion spreads. Trust becomes fragile. Competition increases. People become more cautious. The result is subtle but powerful. Workers spend energy monitoring each other instead of organizing together. Conflicts emerge between workers. Attention shifts away from management, and solidarity becomes harder to build. This is important because collective action often depends on trust. When trust weakens, collective action becomes much more difficult. In the next session, we'll see how life outside the fields is also shaped by this system. Quick interruption. If you're finding this deep dive valuable, verify that subscribe button is clicked. We're tracking the political economy of food and agriculture, so you don't miss the next video. Work does not end when workers leave the fields. Life outside work is closely connected to life inside work. Many workers buy food and daily necessities from plantation stores. Often, these purchases are made on credit. At first, this seems helpful. Workers can obtain food even when money is tight. But credit creates obligations. Debts accumulate. Repayments are deducted from wages. The cycle continues. Over time, workers become increasingly tied to the plantation economy. The place where they work becomes the place where they shop, borrow, and repay debts. Economic dependence deepens. For families, this creates constant pressure. Every drop in income or poor harvest matters. And these pressures shape decisions both inside and outside the workplace. At this point, some viewers may ask a simple question. If conditions are so difficult, why don't workers leave? The answer reveals one of the most important lessons of this story. People do not evaluate jobs in isolation. They compare opportunities. For many Filipino migrants, plantation work may offer earnings that exceed what is available back home. The job may be hard. The system may be unfair. The risks may be significant. Yet it can still appear preferable to the alternatives. This is a crucial point. A worker can simultaneously recognize exploitation and still consider the job worthwhile. Those two realities can exist together. And understanding that tension helps explain why these labor systems persist. Workers are not passive victims. They make strategic decisions within limited options. Their choices reflect the opportunities available to them. And those opportunities are shaped by larger economic forces. At this point, some viewers may ask a simple question. If conditions are so difficult, why don't workers leave? The answer reveals one of the most important lessons of this story. People do not evaluate jobs in isolation. They compare opportunities. For many Filipino migrants, plantation work may offer earnings that exceed what is available back home. The job may be hard. The system may be unfair. The risks may be significant. Yet it can still appear preferable to the alternatives. This is a crucial point. A worker can simultaneously recognize exploitation and still consider the job worthwhile. Those two realities can exist together. And understanding that tension helps explain why these labor systems persist. Workers are not passive victims. They make strategic decisions within limited options. Their choices reflect the opportunities available to them. And those opportunities are shaped by larger economic forces. This story is not only about one plantation. It is not only about one group of workers. It reflects broader patterns in the global economy. Around the world, industries often depend on migrant labor for agriculture, construction, manufacturing, and domestic work. In many cases, migrants perform essential tasks while facing greater insecurity than local workers. They often occupy positions that are difficult, dangerous, or poorly paid. At the same time, consumers remain far removed from the realities of production. Products appear on supermarket shelves, but the supply chains remain invisible. Workers remain unseen. Yet behind every commodity is a human story. And behind every human story are systems that shape who benefits and who bears the costs. In the next session, we'll examine the hidden disadvantages and consequences of this labor model. The labor system described in this story creates several serious consequences. First, income instability. Workers never know exactly how much they will earn from month to month. Second, dependence. Workers become tied to employers, housing arrangements, and credit systems. Third, limited mobility. Changing jobs or seeking better opportunities can be extremely difficult. Fourth, workplace risks. Injuries, health problems, and harsh conditions remain common concerns. Fifth, weakened solidarity. Competition among workers can reduce trust and collective action. Sixth, power imbalance. Workers often have less information and fewer resources than those managing the system. And finally, uncertainty. When workers carry the risks of changing harvests, changing weather, and changing production levels, daily life becomes unpredictable. These disadvantages do not affect everyone equally, but together they reveal how economic systems can transfer risks downward while concentrating benefits elsewhere. The story of Filipino migrant workers in Malaysian palm oil plantations challenges simple explanations. It reminds us that exploitation is not always obvious. Control is not always visible. Power does not always appear in dramatic forms. Sometimes it exists in contracts, in payment systems, debts, or limited choices. And sometimes in the quiet acceptance of difficult conditions because the alternatives appear even worse. Understanding these realities helps us see agriculture differently. Food production is not only about crops, it is also about people. People whose labor supports entire industries. People whose stories rarely reach the public. People whose lives are deeply connected to the products we consume every day. The palm oil industry is often discussed through the lenses of economics, trade, and environmental change. But at its heart lies a human story. A story of migration. A story of survival. A story of workers searching for opportunity while navigating systems that often place the burden of risk on their shoulders. The experience of Filipino migrant workers reminds us that labor systems do not operate by accident. They are built, they are organized, and they shape the lives of millions of people. Understanding those systems is the first step toward asking better questions about fairness, accountability, and the future of agriculture. Before we end, here are 6 key lessons from today's story. 1. Migration is often driven not by opportunity alone, but by a lack of alternatives. 2. A job can be both desirable and exploitative at the same time. 3. Payment systems influence power relationships far more than most people realize. 4. Debt and dependence can become powerful tools of labor control. 5. Dividing workers can weaken solidarity and reduce collective bargaining power. 6. The political economy of food is ultimately about people, not just products. What stood out to you in this analysis? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read them and often build on viewer questions in future episodes. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, share, and stay curious about the systems that feed the world and the people who sustain them.